Greetings and welcome back to the Casual Wargamer. Continuing our look at the demon detachments for Grotmas, we bring up Tzeentch's Scintillating Legion. Now, this one is not well liked. Pretty much every comment I've seen on social media and on the internets has Tzeentch players absolutely hating this detachment, down primarily to its detachment rule. So let's take a look at that and see what you think. It's called Fates in Flux, and I do get where they're coming from, but... So this is fairly wordy, but bear with me. It says you start the battle with 3 Flux tokens. You can spend 1 Flux token just after you roll an advanced roll, hit roll, wound roll, damage roll, saving throw, or hazardous test for one of your Legions, Demonicas, each units, or model. And you can re-roll the result of that roll. Yay. Okay, Flux tokens can also be spent to enhance some of the effects of some stratagems. Yay. Each time you spend a Flux token, reduce the number of Flux tokens you have by 1 and your opponent gains a Flux token. Okay. So you're going to want to be doing this, aren't you? But whenever your opponent has 1 or more Flux tokens, they can spend a Flux token after they use an advanced roll, hit roll, wound roll, saving throw to re-roll that roll. If they do, they reduce the number of Flux tokens they have by 1 and you gain 1. This is ignored if your opponent has Fates in Flux, if you're both playing this detachment. In your command phase, if your opponent has 1 or more Flux tokens, you gain a Flux token. So the problem here is, and why they don't like it, is that you are basically giving your opponent the ability to re-roll everything. Like, you're giving them your ability. So you're boosting your opponent's army as well as your own. So basically, the only way to not do this is to basically not spend the Flux tokens and therefore deny yourself the ability to prevent your opponent doing it. So I get where they're coming from. There are sort of ways around this, because your opponent could, in theory, just go, well, in that case, I'm never using it, because then you never get Flux tokens back. There are ways around it, as I will come to. So they could, in theory, deny you your ability more than that, so you can use it more than 3 times. It's not a well thought out mechanic. What Games Workshop should have done with this is they should have made it something like the Fate Dice or Miracle Dice of Eldari or Sisters of Battle. I'm not really sure why they felt the need to buff your opponent. So as I say, I see where they're coming from. It's not a great detachment, and all in all, I think this is probably the worst. Because of this, I think this is probably the worst of the 4 detachments. I don't know. I think you'd have to be a good player to kind of be able to work around this. But let's take a look at what they give you elsewhere in the detachment, because as I say, there are ways around it. So the first one comes up in your enhancements. For 10 points, you have the Inescapable Eye. In your command phase, if the bearer is on the battlefield, if your opponent has 1 or more Flux tokens, you gain an additional Flux token. I can pretty much see that every list will take this, just in case your opponent decides not to spend those points, because at least then you're still generating a Flux token. You're still getting something out of it. And at 10 points, you can't sniff at it. Infernal Puppeteer for 10 points has to go on one of your Tzeentch monsters, your big demons. Each time the bearer is selected to shoot, you can select 1 other friendly Legions, Demonicas, each units within 9. If you do, when selecting targets for ranged attacks equipped by the bearer, you can measure range and determine visibility from 1 model of your choice in the selected unit. So it's kind of giving your demons a prism cannon style effect. You're firing it into this guy, and then this guy actually fires it at the enemy. For 10 points, that's a snap. Nice. The Neverblade is next at 20 points. Again, it must go on one of your monsters. It improves the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by the bearer by 2, improves the attack and arm penetration of the attackers by 1, and each time the bearer makes a melee attack, it adds 1 to the hit roll. Very, very nice. It makes your big demons very, very killy. And lastly, you have Improbable Shield for 30 points. It goes on any of your Legions Demonicus Tzeentch models, and while a friendly Legions Demonicus Tzeentch unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, the models in that unit have a 4-up feel no pain against psychic attacks and mortal wounds. Nice. A little bit corner case because you need to know that your opponents are likely to be playing psychics and or some sort of mortal wound generation to waste 30 points on it. So that's probably the less, it's handy, but it's probably the less likely to see use. Unless you really know what your local meta is or what have you. So all in all, not bad. But I can see Inescapable Eye being the one that will always be taken just in case the opponent decides not to spend flux tokens. But then doing that, they might decide, well, we'll do it now and again, but who knows? So in your stratagems, you have Impossible Eclipse. In any phase, you can pick one Tzeentch monster from your army that is on the battlefield, select No Man's Land or your opponent's deployment zone, or spend a flux token and select both. Till the end of the phase, the selected areas of the battlefield are within your army's Shadow of Chaos. Brilliant. Really good. Pyrogenesis in your shooting phase. This is a 2 CP stratagem. In your shooting phase or fight phase, you select one Tzeentch unit from your army that's not been selected to shoot or fight this phase. To the end of the phase, add 2 to the strength characteristics of weapons equipped by them, or spend a flux point and add 3 and improve the armor penetration by 1 instead. Very, very nice. Flickering Reality. This is a bit of an odd one, and I don't really see. Again, I don't really see the point. I wouldn't, if I was playing this detachment, I would probably not bother with this, unless I was absolutely desperate. So basically, for 1 CP, in the fight phase, just after any unit has selected its targets, you select one Legion's Demonicus Tzeentch unit from your army that was selected as a target one or more of those attacks, then you roll a dice. You can spend a flux token to re-roll the dice until the end of the phase. Each time an attack targets your unit, on an unmodified hit roll after any re-roll of the result that you have rolled, the attack sequence ends even if the original hit roll would have been a critical hit. Okay. So my opponent goes to shoot me with his big nasty las cannon. I go, aha, Flickering Reality. I've rolled a 4. If you roll a 4 on your attack dice, it ends. It's too random. It's far too random. I don't get it. I really don't. That could have been worded better and actually play better. So unless I'm missing something on that, and Tzeentch players tell me, but I think that's pretty pants. Fateborn Nightmares. In your movement or your charge phase, one Legion's Demonicus Tzeentch unit from your army to the end of the phase. Each time a modelling unit makes a move, it can move through terrain features. Oh, look. This again. This exists in all 4 of the demon detachments. Why? I don't get it. It sort of makes sense for the Khorne one, because they're just smashing the buildings, running through them. But do you really need the likes of Tzeentch Daemons or Nurgle Demons to have this? I think they just couldn't think of any better ideas. Fickle Fire in your shooting phase. Now this one I really like. This one makes up for Flickering Reality. This one I think I like, and I really think this should be. This should have been in an Orc detachment as well. So in your shooting phase, one Legion's Demonicus Tzeentch unit from your army that is within engagement range of one or more enemy units. To the end of the phase, enemy units are not considered to be engagement range of that unit for the purposes of selecting targets for and resolving attacks with ranged weapons. To the end of the phase, each time an enemy model is destroyed while the unit is within engagement range, you roll a dice. On a 5+, your unit takes a mortal wound and after the attacking unit is finished making its attacks. Lots of text. So basically, it means you can go, that unit that my Pink Horrors is engaged with, I can still shoot them with everybody else, but there's a chance I kill my own models through mortal wounds. That's nice. Demons don't care. I also think, as I said, this should have been an orc stratagem. I can see orcs, and maybe even Chaos Marines actually doing this. Anyway, finally, you have Delirium Unmade. End of your opponent's fight phase, one Legion's demonic unit from your army that is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units. Alternatively, if you spend a flux token when you use a stratagem, you can target 2 from your army, including those within engagement range, and you pull them back off the battlefield and put them into strategic reserve, ready to deep strike or walk in on the following turn, or whenever. Very, very nice. So all in all, I think it's got some, with the exception of Flickering Reality, I think it's got some nice stratagems. I think the enhancements are simply okay, and the actual detachment rule could have been done a lot better. So repeating myself, I know it's not great. I don't overly rate this one at all. They could have done so much better. But am I missing anything? If you're a Demons player, do you agree or disagree? Is there something that I'm missing that suddenly makes this really worthwhile? Or, what have you? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, I'd still like to know your thoughts on this detachment. So pop them in the comments, hit me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you shortly for our last Demons detachment for the Nurgle Demons. See you shortly. Take care, guys, and good gaming.